We've all seen their playbook. Masked figures show up to create conflict, usually by overwhelming a few opponents or clashing with police. They are used to picking fights they know they can win. They silence anyone who disagrees with them through force and threats. For a long time, it seemed like it was working. They picked their spots and faced very little real resistance. But what happens when the very people they claim to fight for tell them to get lost? You get a moment that exposes the entire operation for the fraud it is. Welcome back to Gamar Reacts. To my subscribers, thank you for your support. If you are new here, please help this channel grow by subscribing, like and share the video. Don't forget to hit the bell notification. Let's react. First, to get why a moment in Brooklyn was so huge, you have to see how Antifa usually operates. Look at this footage from Portland. This has been their main stage for years. Since June of 2025, they've made a habit of targeting the federal ICE facility almost every night, creating a state of constant chaos. They throw rocks, bricks, and even light flares at federal officers. The whole point is to create zones of instability and fear. It's about intimidation, not debate. And then they tried to bring that playbook to Brooklyn. Now, to understand why Brooklyn was so different, you need to know the history of Crown Heights. It's a community with a complicated past between its Black and Jewish residents. The most painful chapter was the 1991 Crown Heights riot, which began after a tragic car accident killed a 7-year-old Black child, Gavin Cato, left deep scars that the community has worked for decades to heal. So, on Wednesday, in August 2025, during the annual vigil for Gavin Cato, a solemn community event, in walks Antifa. A group of mostly white agitators showed up and immediately started trying to provoke people. An activist group involved had put out statements calling the 1991 tragedy a killing by Zionist white supremacists from Shabbat, and they handed out flyers with the same inflammatory garbage. They weren't there for solidarity. They were there to pour salt in a 3-decade-old wound, hoping to manipulate that pain into fresh rage. They thought they could use the community's grief as a weapon. They were dead wrong. Now watch what happens when a community decides it's not going to be used as a political pawn. This right here is a side of Antifa they pray you never get to see. This isn't Portland. It's not some college campus. This is Crown Heights, Brooklyn. And these aren't cops or professional activists. These are the men of the community telling a bunch of masked agitators that their chaos is not welcome. The residents of Crown Heights, the very people Antifa thought they could manipulate, turned on the outsiders instead. Look at this footage. The Black residents of the community are forming a human wall standing between the masked activists and their Jewish neighbors. The community that outsiders tried to split apart came together instantly to oppose them. The chants from the residents weren't directed at each other, but at the agitators. The crowd shouted for them to scram and made their feelings about Antifa clear. You can see one resident get right in their face, calling out their fake Black Panther movement and telling them it's time to leave, time to go. There was no confusion about who the real enemy was. It was the group of outsiders who came to their home and tried to set it on fire. This is the moment the whole Antifa act just crumbles. Without their usual advantages, they were just a handful of frauds facing a united and fearless community. They came looking for a fight, but when they were confronted by real strength, they tucked their tails and left. This is the kind of story that needs to be told. The media might ignore it, but we don't have to. If you believe communities have the right to stand up to chaos, and that this kind of local courage deserves to be seen, then subscribe and share this video. Let's make sure this moment isn't forgotten. What do you think this event says about the true nature of groups like Antifa? Let me know in the comments. So what's the lesson from the men of Crown Heights? It's simple. The emperor has no clothes. They expose the core weakness of this ideology. It's built entirely on intimidation. At their heart, they are bullies. And like all bullies, they are cowards. They prey on people they think can't or won't fight back. But when a community stands together, united and unafraid, the illusion shatters. The events in Portland show the chaos these groups want. The events in Brooklyn shows the solution. It's about communities recognizing the threat for what it is and having the courage to stand together and say, "You are not welcome here." For that, the men of Crown Heights have earned this country's respect. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.